A federal judge says a lawsuit claiming that Bronx court delays for defendants with minor offenses have reached unconstitutional lengths need new plaintiffs to continue. The Bronx defenders filed a suit in May against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, Chief Judge Janet DeFiore, and Chief Administrative Judge Lawrence Marks. The suit claims that defendants in the Bronx were having their right to a speedy trial violated, and the three had not done enough to change the system. Joining us in the discussion to this, we discuss this case and some more. We discuss it with criminal defense attorney Alexander Sanchez. And Alexander, good to have you here, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much, and you too.
So to give our viewers an update, also to know this case in particular has been dismissed as of right now. But yet and still, there's still some real facts to this case that really need to be meted out. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Now, look, the administration of justice is a major enterprise. And in order for it to go forward in any type of sensible way, you have to have a lot of different parties acting in concert with each other. Now, what do I mean by that? First of all, you have to have a defense attorney. In all cases where somebody's arrested, there's a defense attorney. So now you have a defense attorney. That defense attorney investigates a case. He may get an investigator, right? He may have to interview witnesses. Then there's a prosecutor in the case. The prosecutor has police officers as witnesses and complaining witnesses as witnesses. Then you have to go to court on a case. There may be other witnesses such as doctors, there may be fingerprint experts, who knows what it is. So now people go to court on a case. Somebody says they're not guilty. They want a trial. Well, you're behind everybody else that wants a trial. And there's a lot of people that want trials, right? Then in order for you to finally get a trial, there has to be a courtroom available to try the case. There has to be a judge available to try the case. The prosecutor has to be ready on that day to try the case, as well as the defense attorney. Plus they have to have all their witnesses available. You see, this thing starts to grow exponentially, and it's hard to get all these parties to act in concert with each other to move a case forward.
Well, and part of the problem is, let's go right here, we have the numbers. Bronx residents wait 827 days on average for a jury trial, compared to waits of 414 days in Manhattan, 496 days in Brooklyn, and 558 days in Queens, according to the Bronx defenders. And it says the Bronx court system has been notorious for delays for years. In 2013, 10 judges from outside New York City were assigned to the borough. So when you look at the city as a whole, we in the Bronx seem to have it worse.
Yeah, you know, let me tell you something. In other boroughs like Brooklyn, they have programs that don't exist in the Bronx. For example, DWI cases. Now, you may think DWI is a minor, it's a traffic thing. DWI is extremely important to working people that have cars and have jobs, because it's a criminal offense. Your license gets suspended. You could lose your job. It could affect immigration-related issues. Those cases take up an enormous amount of resources. You have to have police officers. You have to have the officers that gave the breathalyzer examinations. You're entitled to a jury trial, and there's a lot of those cases in the Bronx. In Brooklyn, for example, there's a separate DWI court set up, and there's DWI prosecutors. They handle nothing but DWI cases, and they have programs. And as a result of that, they're able to resolve these cases a lot quicker. How come they don't have that in the Bronx? And that's one of the reasons for the delays. Now they're trying to develop programs like that to improve and try to move things quicker, but they haven't gotten there yet. And so that is at least one of the reasons why there's a delay in the system.
So we know that there was the administrative judge claimed that the defendants in the Bronx were having their right to a speedy trial violated, and as we said, not enough being done in the case. 2.5 years, pretty much in essence, to wait to go to a jury trial. So with the case being dismissed, where do we see things going now?
Well, you know, the judges in the Bronx, everybody in the Bronx is interested in trying to see cases move forward. The judges are very interested, and I'll tell you the truth, they're working hard. They try to move cases forward. They try to obtain reasonable plea negotiations. Every time you resolve a case by plea, you're taking somebody out of the system, and you're able to move the rest of the cases forward a little bit faster. And the judges are putting a lot of pressure on the district attorneys and on the defense attorneys to try to be ready for trial. But ultimately, when you have a lot of volume, like in any system, there's going to be jam-ups. And that's what you have here. You have a lot of jams. Throw in the fact that unique in the criminal justice system is you're entitled to a jury trial. And every time you have a jury trial, you have to have a large panel of jurors, maybe 50 or 60 people come in. The defense attorneys have to interview them. You're going to select 12 or 6 people, depending on if it's a felony or misdemeanor. This is very, very time consuming. Unlike other systems, this is probably much more time consuming. If you want to change the system, as that lawsuit wants to do, you're going to have to invest a massive amount of resources, double, triple, and quadruple the size of the criminal justice system, and have people available to try those cases quicker.
So as one that works in the criminal justice system as a lawyer, what has been your personal experience and how frustrating has it been for you?
It gets very frustrating. You have cases and you have clients that want cases to be resolved pretty quick. Nobody wants to keep coming to court. Nobody wants to keep paying their attorney, right? Nobody wants to take off from work to come to court and spend a half a day or a whole day in court. And that's what happens quite often. The typical day, you go to a court, there's maybe 60, 70, 80 people sitting in the courtroom itself. Mm-hmm. Each of those people have defense attorneys, right? The cases get called. It's not like you get up there and 1, 2, 3, a case is adjourned for another day, and this delays the system. One of the things I think they should do in the interest of the people of the Bronx or people that are being charged with crimes is excuse them from coming to court. Instead of them coming to court every time they have to appear, the case is adjourned, let them come to court maybe every 4th time. Because every time people come to court, you know, you have people going through metal detectors, that takes time. You have security issues, that takes time. There's crowds in the courtroom, that takes time. If you excuse people, at least they can go to work. Their lawyer can report to them the progress of the case. And if they have to come in, the lawyer will call them in and tell them to come on in. That's just a little accommodation they could make for people that are waiting 2.5 years.
In this particular lawsuit, the governor, Andrew Cuomo, was named in the lawsuit. Judge George Daniels ruled on Thursday that Governor Cuomo was dismissed from the lawsuit, but he does say that they need to have some new plaintiffs in order to be able to continue. So what do we see? What do we see happening here?
Yeah, what happened was Bronx defenders, and it was a noble lawsuit. They bring a lawsuit on behalf of a few people that claim that they're taking an interminable amount of time to try their cases. But by the time the case was heard before a federal judge, those people had pled out, or their case had been dismissed or resolved. So now the judge says, well, there's no more complaining witnesses here. And if there's no complaining witnesses, there is no case.
Right.
And that's why the case was essentially dismissed, but it doesn't eliminate all the underlying problems. Now, you brought up something before that at one point in the past, they brought in 10 judges. Mm-hmm. Let me give you some inside information about that. They brought in 10 judges from upstate New York to come to the Bronx. A lot of the Bronx judges were very resentful at that, because those upstate judges, they don't understand the systems in the Bronx. They don't have relationships with district attorneys and defense attorneys. They don't know how corrections works. They don't know how to get the police in and subpoena systems in the Bronx. So they came in, they looked like heroes from the outside, but they didn't accomplish anything significant over there. And the other judges were kind of felt almost like they were disrespected by the governor or whoever sent those judges in to try to handle that matter, because they could have done it themselves.
Right. So where do we see things going in the future, given the fact that you've got this huge backlog, we've got this case that's been dismissed, but we're sure it's coming back? What's going to happen?
I don't think there's going to be any monumental changes anytime soon. There may be small incremental changes. Judges may try to arrange with defense attorneys and district attorneys to try to meet in a certain courtroom at a certain time to move a case forward. I'm sure they're going to try their best to organize all the parties so that we can have a trial sooner rather than later. But there is going to be no monumental change that's going to come in and all of a sudden everybody's going to come to court and the case is going to be resolved in 3 months. That's not going to happen. And if anybody expects that to happen, they're in dreamland.
Well, when you talk about 2.5 years, 2.5 years is the average time that you have to wait for a jury trial in the borough of the Bronx. If you're in the Manhattan area, you're talking about a little bit more than a year. Brooklyn, about 1.5 years, and then Queens, it's about the same thing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Bronx, we're talking about almost 2.5 years. And so, if anybody's had any run-ins with the system, they will easily be able to testify. It takes a while.
If you want to get arrested somewhere else. Get arrested upstate. They'll move your case very quickly upstate. You may go to jail longer.
It may not be what you wanted to be.
You may be in jail much longer, but they'll move your case quicker.
That's it. Alexander Sanchez, criminal defense attorney for the expert Bronx Criminal Lawyers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
As always, talking it up,
Thank you very
chopping
much.
it up. Thank you. All right, listen, taking a quick break. When we return, we're going to the world of politics, talking about the upcoming presidential inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump. Our political commentators will be in studio. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.